Before I start, I explain a little bit who I am, where I'm coming from, and what makes me to discuss this topic for one day with you. So I'm working for the university in Vienna, Modul University. I don't know who of you have heard about this university before. See some hands, yeah. I mean, we have one student representative, yeah. So Modul University Vienna is quite new university. We're only 10 years old, and we are mainly working in the field of tourism, which I'm also working for, yeah, tourism and service management. Wait, sorry, I just have to. So what is my field of research? I'm mainly doing research in the field of social media and tourism and innovation. So I did my doctorate thesis on innovation, experience, design in the field of tourism. Yeah, so I looked into how can we use social media to innovate, how can we grasp that information and transform it into new experiences for our tourists. So while I was doing that, I also got interested in branding, which is of course closely related to social media, design, marketing, all these creative tools. Yeah, so today I want you to understand a little bit of what is branding in the context of tourism, how can we use storytelling to get to a more effective way of bringing my message across to my customers. Yeah, so I'm not sure, of course, of how much you know about this topic, so we start slowly with understanding what is branding in general, but also how can we relate that to the context of tourism. Because tourism, as we know, you might have discussed it already in the last 3 days, is a specific context. Yeah, we are talking about experiences, we're talking about interactions with so many facets and only one product or service. So keeping that in mind makes this topic even more interesting and more dynamic to discuss. So before we start, I first want to ask you about storytelling and branding. So if we think about storytelling, it's something that we are doing on a daily basis. Yeah, we had yesterday also quite a big discussion on what is a story, what is a good story, and how do you use stories to actually get a message across. So this is also something that we will discuss today. So if we were to talk about storytelling, I would like to do a small warming up exercise to get to know each other. Yeah, I mean, I see you for the first time. I know some familiar faces, but it's also nice to know that you know who I am and I know who you are. Yeah, so if I would say I would use myself as a story, if I would like to categorize myself as a story, how do we use stories nowadays in the online world? What is the most useful tool or things that we're doing nowadays? We hashtag everything, right? So if you want to categorize your experience, if you want to categorize what you're doing right now, what do? Hashtag something, right? And that hashtag directly decides or categorizes what you're doing. So if I would tell a story about myself in the context of the online world, I would use, for example, hashtags. Yeah, so if I would say I'm using 3 hashtags to define who I am, I would choose those 3 hashtags. Why? Hashtag Dutch, because I'm originally from the Netherlands, so I have a Dutch nationality, which I'm very proud of, so I'm using that hashtag to define my first part of the story. Hashtag tourism, why? Because I'm doing my studies, I did my studies, and I'm also doing research in tourism. Yeah, it's my very big topic of my job. Hashtag running, because I'm very passionate running. I'm participating in quite some races, so I would say that's also a very important part of my story. Now, this is very basic of who I am. But do you know now what kind of person I am? Not fully. So there can be another layer on that. I can also say I would categorize myself as creative. Yeah? If I would talk about who I am, what I stand for, I would say I think I'm quite creative. I'm passionate in what I'm doing. I like to really put all my feelings and attention to it, but I'm also very disciplined. Yeah, so if I would create just a very simple overview of a story about myself, these would be the 6 hashtags for now that I would like to let to know you who I am and you have to deal with. So, of course, now you know who I am, or at least for the first 10 minutes of today. I would actually like to ask you to think about which hashtags represent you the most. I have here some post-its, and then I will just bring up the blue board to bring it here, and then we will have, hopefully, a storyboard of all of us on one overview. Yeah, so you can choose, on one you can put 2 hashtags that represent you, so the white hashtags, and you can use another one to represent who you are if we would talk about personality traits. Super. So, how hard was it for you to actually get those hashtags written down and pin them here? Because we needed almost 50 minutes to do this exercise. So how hard was it? Not so easy? So if we would look at this board, we can already say we have somehow a brainstorm of storytelling input. Yeah. So if we would look at hashtags, I cannot do the count now, but if we would look at it, we can see what is the most popular one. I mean, very, very obvious, but hashtag travel, hashtag tourism. Yeah. So of course, what does define or basic story framework? Tourism. Yeah. We're here because we are passionate about tourism. Yeah. Then we can also see that people have highlighted their nationality. I mean, I did the same because it's something that we're proud of. Yeah, where we are from is something that represents who we are. So we can see hashtag Italy. Where are the Italians here in the class? Okay, so we have Italy here. We have Sri Lanka. Yeah. And then I also see hashtag Chinese. Yeah. We have hashtag Italy Brazilian. Who's doing that? Yeah, great. You don't have to be shy. It's good. I don't know you, right? So I'm just reading and understanding who is here. So we also have people who love food. Who is the one who wrote hashtag foodie? Great, yeah. So maybe later on you will see we have some exercises as well. So maybe you find those people who are into food you want to collaborate with later on. Yeah. So who was raising foodie? Just remember who else raised the hands. We have also people who wrote down hashtag creative. Who did that? Yeah, so maybe you also think about coupling up with those people later on. Hashtag outgoing. Yeah, so great. We have hashtag ambitious, also a nice one. Who of you had hashtag ambitious? Only one, okay, yeah. Hashtag ITB, yeah, which is also great, yeah. Hashtag dedicated, yeah, this is also something important. Hashtag Globetrotter. Who did that? Yeah? So as you can see, there are so many hashtags we can use just to define ourselves. Yeah, this is a very simple exercise. Yeah, this is not rocket science, but just to understand if I were to define myself, if I were thinking about if we want to tell a story about what did we do this week, this might be a starting point to start designing a story or designing a brand about the master course. Yeah, so we can define already nationality. We have personality traits here. Yeah, traveling, curious, dedication. I see here also hashtag Montenegro. Who wrote that? Yeah. I have also roots from Montenegro, so I could also have done hashtag Montenegro. Yeah.
Because of the last name.
Yeah. So there are so many things of how we can say, okay, we have the core part. I come to that in a second as well. How you design a brand, which parts of the brand do you want to focus on and do you want to emphasize on? Yeah. So also later on when we're thinking about competition, we might have to consider those hashtags as a way to start understanding how can we design stories that make sense and that actually trigger emotions from the customer. Yeah, so this is what the whole day is going to be about. So today is really more about understanding and being creative. Yeah, I think the last days you have been overwhelmed with a lot of theories, a lot of data. Today is more time to say, let's be creative and use this I would call it amazing, great world that we are working in, tourism. Yeah, everything is possible. There are so many things we can work with. Why not use it and be creative as much as we can? Yeah. So of course, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, some of you are coming from the industry, just raise your hand or just say and share your idea and experience. Yeah, we are here to learn together. Yeah, so it shouldn't be me talking all the time. It should be really easygoing, interactive workshop we are having. Yeah, so we will also break up today's session into smaller sessions where I first explain a little bit about the concept. Then I'm going to ask you to work in groups, present it, pitch it to each other. We can have a break whenever we feel like it. Yeah, so the day will be a little bit like that. Yeah, because in the end of the day, you should have a feeling of. I have 2 pointers here. You should have the feeling of understanding what we are talking about. So, if we're thinking about stories, yeah, I mean, I already said it before, stories are something that we grow up with, yeah. Stories are around us and we are surrounded and it's something that connects us, yeah. If you want to talk about how your holiday was, you tell stories about specific moments, about specific experience that you had, yeah. Stories are a way to remember what we were doing, but also to convince the other that he should listen to you. Yeah, so it's a very powerful tool to communicate what you are about. But in tourism, what does it mean to tell stories? Who of you has experience with telling stories or is actually involved in storytelling design?
A little bit for my internship.
Mhm.
We have to keep updated our master social media pages.
Yeah.
And during summer, I'm almost finished now
Mhm.
with the new promotional video for our master.
Mhm.
So we had to do with the professor that was following me. We had to do a little bit of storytelling to
Mhm.
create the story for our
Mhm.
master.
And was it hard? How did you? Okay. Okay. So actually, before, normally when I start teaching, Juliette knows that, I'm also asking what are your expectations of today? Yeah, so just that we chip in on the same level. Yeah, so if you have a specific idea of what you would like to learn from branding and storytelling, you should just raise your hand and we can see where we can take the discussion. Yeah, so if there are specific elements or specific examples that you would like to bring forward, please do so. Yeah. If you have experience, even if it's not directly in the context of tourism, bring them also to your peers and explain that. Yeah, because that's where we learn the most from that interaction. So in tourism, we have a lot of opportunity to actually make this experience even more intense. We have the opportunity to actually create a holistic overview of what we have to offer. But what is the question that we have to ask ourselves? How can we have the best experience in town, in the city, in the destination on this level that the consumer, when he goes home, he remembers and he's proud to share it with his friends on any kind of way. On social media, talking to you, printing it into a photo book. Yeah, we have to ask ourselves, what is this deep level? And where can we create this deep level? And where does it start? It can start with stories. Yeah, so maybe I show you a short video. I mean, there are tons of videos out there on destinations, yeah, so of course we have to make the best choice. I'm not sure, is the sound working? Okay. Yep. Start?
Yep.
Vasco da Gama, Neil Armstrong und Robinson Crusoe. Wir sind Zugvögel, Wasserratten, Entdecker und Ausbrecher. Wir sind alle Reisende, Suchende und Findende, genau wie Sie. Wir von der glauben nämlich, nur wer das Fernweh kennt, kann es bei anderen entfachen. Nur wer die Welt bereist hat, kann anderen verraten, wo das Paradies beginnt. Wir reservieren Ihnen einen Liegestuhl unter dem Himmel auf Erden, wo Ihre Seele mit Ihren Füßen um die Wette baumelt. Wir finden, was Sie suchen. Denn wir haben das gleiche Ziel. Nicht irgendein Urlaub. Der Urlaub. Entdecken Sie los. Im Der Reisebüro und auf der.com.
So what do you think when you see such a video? What are the elements that they display in this video? So there are a lot of individual moments where it's really about what people are doing in the moment. Yeah, so it's not just loose fragments, it's not just pictures, but it's really motion and people interacting with each other. Yeah, so later on we will also have an exercise to analyze such thing and see if you understood the message right. That's also what we come to in a second. Branding, what is it in the end about? Effectively communicating what I want you to experience and that you experience it in the right way. So of course when I design a story, if I design a marketing approach, I have to keep that in mind. So the question that we also have to ask yourself, how do I develop a creative story that actually creates those deeper feelings? Yeah? How do I create a visual story that represents my destination on all different levels? And of course here the tricky part comes, because it might be for different audiences. Yeah? So a destination can lend itself for younger travelers, for older travelers, for sportive people, for people who are more into cultural aspects. So we also have to keep in mind, for who am I designing the story? And we come to that also in an hour. So if we just look at this board of pictures, we also see every picture has a different story to tell, and you have to ask yourself, is this something that I want my destination to feel? Well, is it something that my customer wants to be represented about? So think about visual story design. We come to that also later. Maybe you have an example yourself of which destination you think is very good in doing that. Does someone has an example? Claudia?
Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
like
stories they are willing, you know, Felsenputzer, the mountain cleaners. It was one of the best campaigns they ever did. But also Sabian Powell, this is a very good story that went on for, I think, 1 year now. In different seasons, you have different ideas of what Sabian Powell, these are two old guys, so Swiss guys with barber, and they are just talking to each other, and so you have different, they have two people, and they are telling different stories, so this is really art for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is also the where you can say I use one person and that tells a story for my destination that becomes the storyteller for me. Yeah, I also have later on an example of that in Canada. But you can also say I step away from having a person representing my destination, but I work with products or with myths or with other tools that actually helps me to tell a story. So today is really about those 4 elements here, destination management. Yeah, so how can I actually manage a destination from this creative approach? What is a tourist experience? I mean, I know you have been working on that with John on Tuesday, right? A little bit or not so much? Tourist experience design?
It's more like digital methods.
It was more like the design for an app.
Okay.
It was really related to an app and not on the tourist experience.
Okay.
Experience design.
So maybe we touch upon that also shortly, that everyone is coming from the same perspective, because we need that basic understanding in order to jump to the concept of emotional branding. Who of you has heard about this concept or have been working with this concept?
I did once when I was working for a PR company, and my client was Coltex. I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's a sentimental pads, for women. It's a pad company, and if you go to for example, the supermarket, you find all the pads. Probably you only compare with the price, but for that brand, they want to hook with the emotion a bit more with the consumers. So yes, we talk about emotional branding, and the process, like, you have to define your TA, your target group, and then, so for example, there are 16 to 25, and what kind of things or stories or images that will be more attached, and then you just create stories out there. So the whole advertisement is more like a girl who's having her love story, blah blah blah, and then in the end, context. So that's what we did.
So in other markets, our emotional branding is already very, very strong. Yeah, in tourism we also have that, but there is much more that we can use in order to push this experience design forward. Yeah, and then of course we end up today on the storytelling design. So I have this slide here, the end of tourism as we know it. Wonderful Copenhagen put out this postcard, I think 1.5 years ago. But do you know why they have put this postcard out? Or relatively, they printed it on a postcard and sent it to their stakeholders. Have you heard about this campaign? No one? No? So why do you think they put it? Actually, they put this quote here. It's very dramatic. Yeah. Yeah, that was a side effect of it.
Maybe they want to revoke the curiosity of people then what's next after this end.
Yeah, but what are they talking about? What is the end?
The end of mass tourism?
The end of what?
And of postcards moving to
Yeah.
multimedia and platforms. Nobody's sending postcards anymore. If you do not like retro.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Something else? Where are you going to work? We have some people from the industry here, so maybe they have a better feeling of why this postcard has been sent out. No? So what Wonderful Copenhagen said is tourism is not going to be the same anymore. Yeah, it's already what you said. Everything happens mostly online. Do we need a DMO still? That's the question that they pose themselves. Yeah? Do we still need destination marketing organizations if half the marketing is done outside of our power? Yeah. So we had a big discussion as well with different DMOs on this topic. Yeah. Do we still need the DMO? What is tourism? What defines tourism? Yeah. What is a job when you work in tourism? What am I doing? Yeah. What have you learned yesterday with our colleagues Matthias and Wolfgang? Data mining, yeah. So you also need to have different skills to understand the field of tourism. Yeah, there's a lot of big data that we need to understand to see what are people doing, what do people want. We have this on-the-go recommendation design, yeah. So the question is, how are we going to market ourselves, and if we do so, who do we need to reach out to, and what kind of tools do we need? Yeah, so this is a very critical question to ask ourselves. Can we continue how we have been doing for the last 20, 30 years? Not so sure, right? So we have been in this drastic change of the last 10 years. Somehow DMOs are still quite slow in adapting. I mean, they're getting there, but they still have a hard time finding the right tools to actually manage this drastic change. So another point that they also pointed out is co-innovation at heart. What do you think I mean with that? I mean, it already says a little bit here of what we also have the mentions and the hashtags. What do you think this concept stands for? What does co-innovation means? Yeah, exactly. But what does the word innovation stand for in this way? Yeah, that is the direct definition of innovation, yeah. So the idea here is more that because we share, we also directly innovate the experiences, yeah. So if a DMO has a fixed program or fixed sites and things that you can do, but if I'm going to promote Eberswalde, for example, I might promote something completely different than what the DMO has in his mind, yeah. So by sharing my point of view as a consumer, I already give a different promotion to the destination, yeah. So by doing that, I actively take you into my network, I take you into my experience. So I innovate for the DMO, so together we innovate and we bring the tourism industry forward. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's on a very, very abstract level, but if you think in its core, there's a lot of innovation happening outside the DMO's control. Yeah? So who should we include in order to get this innovation forward? The consumer, yeah. We come in a second also to some facts that shows you why. Shareability is king, yeah? If you have if you posted something on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any kind of the platforms, what makes you successful?
If you have a lot of likes.
Exactly, yeah. If you are not shared,
Engagement.
exactly. So shareability is the king. Even if you can have a great destination, but no one talks about it, nowadays it means that you are a loser if you would categorize yourself as that. Yeah, so we all know this, but we still need to remind ourselves when we are doing storytelling design and branding approaches, we need to have this in mind. Yeah? So if we look into theory, but also into some facts and figures, we can see that experiences is still our favorite world in travel. Yeah, everyone talks about experience design, everyone talks about I want to have a great experience, but what is an experience? How would we define that? Where does it start? Who of you has been working a little bit on experience design or has been, see some nodding?
Starts from dreaming, From dreaming,
Yeah, you can already start imagining it, yeah, having a dream about it, yeah. So experience can go on in different phases, yeah. I mean, I have also a model for that. That I can show you later, but here it's really about an experience. It's not only being in the destination, yet there is much more to it. So when I think about storytelling design, the story has to start from the moment I start thinking about it. Yeah, so we have to keep in mind that it's a whole process. It's different steps that I want the customer to experience. Yeah, thinking about a check-in of a hotel, what is the most crucial moment for you when you go and have a hotel overnight? When they give you the Wi-Fi password, maybe. Yeah. So yesterday, for example, I checked in, and then the lady actually didn't give me the Wi-Fi password because it was something very simple. But for me, I think then it's annoying if I have to ask, because it should be something that they should give automatically. Or I heard some of you have no Wi-Fi in the room. Yeah. If you come back home, what do you remember from your trip of your hostel in Berlin? Wi-Fi might come up as one of your triggers. Yeah. So your experience overall might have been good, but some points might have been missing or failing. Yeah, so your memory of the experience is then maybe much less favorable than it was if you would have had that in place. Yeah, so all these small little elements of your experience blueprint has to be in order. Yeah, And if you have a story that helps you to give the customer the feeling that he's on a journey that you want him to experience, it will be a much greater experience, yeah, because you feel like you're taken care of, you feel like you have emotions that are going to take care of, you know that you're going to experience something that you expected, yeah? And of course you have to ask yourself, what kind of feeling do I want my customer to have when he is interacting with my brand? What kind of elements and what kind of products, services, and people do I want him or her to have when he is in my destination? Very complicated because it can go into all different settings. If we look into also some research done among DMOs, we can see that more than half is considering experience design as a part of their marketing approach, but still we should have a higher level here, yeah, because it's so crucial, but only a few than half are actually considering it as their marketing approach. If we look at the number of digital marketing, only 42% actually considers experience as their important tool to do so. Yeah, and of course we see that it's becoming more and more important, and we need to actually bring it up and have it even more under control. Who of you is working in the digital marketing world or is designing some, yeah, maybe you have some experience or something to share on that? Yeah. What are you exactly doing?
I work for a company which is producing travel adapters.
Okay.
And there I do run blog and search engine navigation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So where does the story start? Indeed, when people are searching for keywords. Yeah, so if you find out that there are specific keywords people always search for, what would you like to have in your marketing approach? Those keywords, yeah, because you know that that's what people want to find out about your destination. So if you have that also in your marketing approach, it might be much easier to have a match between what people are searching for and what they find back in your marketing approach. Yeah, so those simple tools are very effective to actually have this match between identity and image on a higher level. So here we come back to the tourist experiences. What is it? Yeah, I just listed down 4 aspects that are so important when we're thinking about designing successful experiences, design stories that make sense. So the first one, what is, when you come to a destination, what do you want to experience? The physical side, yeah, you want to see something, yeah, you come for the beach, you come for the mountains, you come for the historical sites, yeah, the pure tangible stuff that is out there. But what happens when I'm going to a destination that is very similar to the neighboring town? What am I searching for in that destination then? Maybe I want to learn about myself. Yeah? Maybe I want to also know more about the world. So I'm not only going to travel to see this amazing church, but I also want to know what is history behind it. What do I learn about myself? Yeah? Think about when you go skiing for the first time or you go rafting on some exciting river. Where do you put yourself? Out of your comfort zone. Yeah, so you learn so much more about yourself than only being at that river. Yeah, this is something very, very basic, but if you think about, for example, Switzerland, when they're trying to promote themselves, where do you think they can actually use these things to promote themselves? They can say, hey, if you come to our destination, we make sure that you can go out of your comfort zone, but we take care of you because it's secure, we will make sure the quality is high, but you will have an amazing time and you will not forget your experience. Yeah. And then also, it's about the social aspect. Yeah? Think about Airbnb. What are they doing now? It's coming to Europe already much more than it did in the US. Airbnb experiences, yeah. What is the core of this product design, of this product, what Airbnb is offering? Or Airbnb itself, what is the core idea that makes it so much more popular than just a hotel overnight? Yeah, because a bed I can have everywhere, yeah. I can go to a hotel, I have the same basic service, but this extra layer of social context makes Airbnb so much more competitive than the hotel. So what are we searching for? We also want to know who is in a destination, who can I interact with, and what makes my experience or my holiday so much more memorable. The one that you met, the one you traveled with. So all these elements are so important to consider when we are thinking about storytelling design. Yeah, think about Switzerland, the example that Claudia just mentioned. They are using 2 locals to stand out and tell a story about their destination. What does it say about the destination design? Come to Switzerland, you meet those 2 locals. That are the people that are living here. Yeah? Maybe for your generation, those two old guys might not be so appealing because, okay, yeah, they're a little bit different than what I am. So we also come to that in a second. You want to go somewhere where you feel like it's close to how you are, yeah? It's close to your identity. Because if it can enhance who you are, how do you leave? Happy, satisfied, enriched. Yeah? That's what we want you to do. So those things we keep in mind when we come to the point of storytelling design. Another interesting fact. People are willing to pay more when you are designing good experiences. So what does that mean for a marketeer? Isn't that great that you actually can ask more and do a better job in designing experiences, right? So this is something that we have to keep in mind. If people are willing to pay more, why are we still doing such a lazy job in designing experiences, yeah? Or why are we doing a lazy job in not having Wi-Fi in your hotel room or having a proper welcome when I'm actually entering your hotel? Sad, but true. So there lies also a lot of power in actually thinking about pricing and thinking about what people want and people are willing to pay for.
I think here we also have to define what is a better experience. What does that mean for the customers? For example, I think to experience in a green hotel is good, but the data shows that not many travelers are willing to pay more for the sustainable hotels. But can you say hotels don't offer a better experience for customers?
I mean, in this case, you are talking about the basic products. It's the same, yeah. But if I think here the difference would lie in how the hotel takes you on the journey of being in a sustainable hotel, for example. That makes you feel special, yeah. Because if I just go to the same hotel A and B have exactly the same. A uses rainwater in the toilet, the other one doesn't, yeah. For me as a customer, it's no different. So I would ask myself, why would I pay more if I have the same toilet I should take care of? Yeah. But if I go to the hotel and it gives me the feeling I'm doing a better job for the world, I'm also becoming more educated about sustainability, I feel like I'm getting more out of my experience than if I would just go to that hotel. Yeah. So I think it really lies in the power of how you communicate to the consumer what he can expect in your hotel. Yeah. And that's what branding also is about. Yeah. So it's a tricky thing, yeah, with sustainability. I mean, we have done many studies and we're still doing quite some studies on that. Forcing people to be more sustainable, taking sustainable choices are hard. And especially in holiday, what do we say? I'm on holiday now. I'm now giving up on my good behavior. Which would be the opposite, yeah. You should actually want you to make a better thing.
I don't understand this. Like, 60% of consumers are willing to pay more for better experience. Well, I don't understand why it's spread in such way.
What do you mean?
What's the message behind it?
So, for example, if you have a hotel room, just giving a hotel room as an example. Let's say a hotel room is 70 euros, yeah? And you check in, everything is normal, yeah, enough experience. But if I pay 85 I'm willing to pay 85 euros for my hotel room if I have a friendly guy at the counter. I can have my own pillow I can choose from. I can, I don't know, have other tools that makes my stay more convenient and more efficient. I'm willing to pay more for that. Yeah. So customers say, I don't mind to give you more money if you give me a better experience back for that.
Isn't it the case for every consumer? As long as they can spend money?
Yeah, but
everyone willing to pay more money for better experience, but people do not do it because they don't have enough money.
I mean, give the example from Juliet, for example. Yeah, some people say, why should I pay more for a sustainable hotel if it's the same offer? Yeah, so there is some trade-off of what you're willing to pay.
Well,
yeah.
In this case, for them, it's not a better experience. Staying at a sustainable hotel, in the example that you gave.
It's not a better experience because they're not getting a better offer. Yeah. So it's really more about the fact, the power in this message lies more in the fact that there is some leverage of what they are willing to accept and how much they are willing to pay to actually get better service. Yeah. So if you think about, price doesn't matter so much as long as I get what I want. That's more what is here. Yeah. So this doesn't mean that as a marketer I have to now go and put my prices double, because that also doesn't work. But people say, okay, if I don't know, spend X amount of money on a hotel room, then
like back home. As you know, Zambia is a beautiful country. Okay, back home, we've got these hotels. They've got their higher pricing, but they've got accessibility to the tourist attraction is closer, but the pricing is very high. So we've got people, tourists, who just want to stay there because even the services, the incentives they offer are just good. You find like one of the hotels, Avan, is near the Victoria Falls. When you're staying at that hotel, you literally pay a lot of money, and most of the time it's fully booked. But you've got free access to the Victoria Falls, and you've got zebras passing around the pool where you're lying. You've got all these nice, and you just like treated nicely, way beyond the expectations. So you don't mind spending as much more money. I think this helps. So I've got friends who stayed there and they've just posted on Facebook, if you want to go to Zambia, just stay at this hotel. You enjoy every money you spend on that. Yeah, so it's just amazing because even when you're seated in your room, you've got welcome message, you've got Wi-Fi, you've got just all those nice incentives. Even when you're walking, someone will go, are you okay? Can you do something? They go out of your way. So they make your stay very nice and you enjoy. You just want to have a good time, you just want to be there and throughout. Yeah.
I'm going there.
Yeah, so I think that's why I concur with this survey, because most of the times maybe it's not about the money. You can afford that. Sometimes you want to say, okay, I'm going to safari to Africa, and you just want to have a good experience. You don't mind, you've saved enough for your holiday, so you don't want to have maybe to stay in a place where you want to enjoy yourself. You want to enjoy, to have relaxing, to enjoy what you've worked for, or to have a beautiful experience in Africa. So you want to spend as much as possible. You don't care about the money, that's all. Yeah, but there's sometimes maybe you care about the budget, you're on a tight budget, they're also there. So when you've got a lot of money, enough money, you planned it nicely and you want to enjoy, so you wouldn't mind to pay extra, in short. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you want to have an article on that, recently published by McKinsey, and they also show on the different services, where people say, I'm willing to pay more, or what is very important to me, and I'm willing to pay more for that. Yeah, maybe you get a little bit better. And actually airlines is the worst performing industry when it comes to expectations versus performance and what I'm willing to pay more. Yeah. If you want, I can say, also if others, I can upload it maybe to the Dropbox and everyone have access to that. The creative effect of social media, I mean, this is something not new, but again, I think it's something important just to understand once more of how tremendous this world is. So we have billions of users online. Every platform speaks for itself in terms of popularity. So of course, when we're talking about storytelling design, where can we find stories among those billion of stories? What kind of tools do we use? What did we learn yesterday? Data mining, so you have to have new skills in-house in order to actually deal with that kind of data. So that's why also coming back to the slide of tourism, the end of the way we know it, comes to this discussion point. We need different skills, we need different approaches to actually be able to find some kind of sense in this online jungle of data, you can call it. Also, if we look into profit and experiences, here again it proves that if I am able to offer a very profitable or a good experience, it also brings me profit. Here we have just some simple numbers of companies who are really good in offering great experiences are able to have a revenue growth of 70% over 5 years. The ones who are doing worse, they actually have only 3%. We're talking about 14% difference. It's a lot. So again, people are willing to pay more, but they're also able to stick with you because they know what they're going to expect. They know that they will have a good time with your brand. So why would they switch and risk this moment of not knowing what will happen with another brand? Think about yourself. Which brand are you very, very much involved with? I mean, many of you have something called a mobile phone on the table. Which brand are you using? Would you switch to an Android phone? I mean, with this example, it's very drastic because you either go for one or for the other. But think about another brand that you're very much using. Maybe for the girls, hair products. Is there some brand that you always stick to? Because you know what no? Some other brands that you are, maybe car brands, Okay, for cars, we should get rid of them, so I don't want to discuss it too much. But just think about yourself, Which brand are you not willing to switch because you think, I'm happy with it, I think it's great, and I don't want to trust someone else to do so? Can happen the same in tourism. Maybe you are booking through a tour operator. Maybe there are specific countries that you are familiar with and you don't want to do something else. Yeah, so as a brand, of a destination brand, you can also keep that in mind. How can I make people come back or wanting to come back at least within the next 5 years? Yeah, I have been to Berlin in the last 10 years. I cannot even count it. Yeah, and every time when I come back, there is something new I can experience. Yeah, that's great. So it doesn't mean that a destination is a one-time thing. Yeah, you can come back in the next 10, 5, whatever years. Another one, and maybe this also is another one here, we can see online reviews is also such a powerful thing. Yeah? I mean, you can ask yourself, who of you reads online reviews before you go to visit a destination? So how important is it for you? Quite important, right? I see it myself as well. Yeah, as soon as I see 3 negative reviews from the 10 I read, I swap the hotel and I try to find another hotel. Yeah, so unconsciously or consciously, you are very actually influenced by that. And we can see that people actually say, oh, if there are so many good reviews, we actually think that the price it's okay if the price is a bit higher, because probably it's justified because other people have been praising this hotel much more. Customer wants and needs. I mean, some of you are in this generation of millennials. Is this true? You don't trust traditional advertising?
The definition
Skeptical.
of traditional advertising here means TV, I suppose. TV
Can be TV, printed, can also be a DMO website. Yeah, something someone who's in charge of the marketing and does not have user-generated content mixed in it. Yeah.
But maybe now with like social media and influencers,
Yeah, we can
I
easily
think
tell
people
it's-
can also beginning not to trust in them because
Mm.
we all know they have been paid and
Yeah.
they speak beautifully about everything.
So this is another era where we're entering now. Yeah. So the last 5 years, influencers were very successful. Yeah, it helped brands to engage. Having this local out there. But now we can see that it's again a different dynamics. Yeah. So we are more skeptical as well. Yeah. Same with TripAdvisor. Yeah. We also have to be aware there's a lot of fake reviews out there. Yeah. So of course there is some skepticism anyway when we are in the online world. We have to keep in mind. Then another thing, I mean, think about yourself. What is your attention span nowadays when you go online? 10 seconds maybe, yeah. X amount of words. Yeah, so something very simple we all know, but when we are designing marketing experiences or when we are actually communicating about our brand, destinations still go on in very long paragraphs. Does not work if you want to quickly catch your attention from your audience. So something that we have to keep in mind also later on when we go and design a story for a destination I'm asking you to do. Here we come to this strong point of personalization again. Yeah, so we can see that almost 70% of travelers are more loyal to companies that actually want them to, or that helps them to personalize their trip. Yeah? Of course, airlines again are doing a lousy job in here, but they have so much potential to do so. Hotels as well. Yeah, me as a frequent traveler, I like to know the brand of the hotel that I'm going because I know what I can expect. I know my room of negotiation, of personalization. Yeah. So of course, here again lies a lot of strength to enhance your brand. Cost. You can also think about how much social media can ruin your brand. Yeah, I don't know if you have heard about this hashtag boycott United Airlines. Yeah, we have done a study on that. It's just immense on how many millions of tweets in just a week of time were spread around the world where people say avoid United Airlines because they are just really horrible towards their passengers. Yeah, United Airlines couldn't do anything. Yeah, so we have to also be careful with the negative part of social media. But of course, also what you learned yesterday, there is a lot of opportunity to grab that information, structure it, and put it back into your marketing design. Yeah, so it's this very intriguing paradox with I'm finding myself walking on eggshells. What if I do something wrong one day? It can burst into something really bad. But on the other hand, I also have a lot of opportunity to learn about my customer. So where does this come from? So this paradigm shift, or the way we are actually designing our products, the way we want the customer to interact with our product, comes from something. Yeah, so let's look at this new set of values, something very simple. Yeah, so 10 years ago we were talking about computers, airplanes, food, universities. I'm just giving 4 random examples here. Think about how would we call that nowadays, having the experience design glasses on. Computers, what are they nowadays? Or smartphones, you could actually mention that the same. It's a lifestyle thing, right? So if you have an Apple or a MacBook, it says something about you, yeah? So it's an equipment to lifestyle entertainment, yeah? It's not just a functional thing anymore, but it entertains my life. It says something about who I am. The brand that you choose is so important. You can choose for yourself how you have been trying to buy your laptop and how much importance the brand was, yeah? I don't know, for those who have a MacBook here, maybe you have experience with choosing that. Do you feel connected to the brand?
If you have an iPhone, you also want the Mac because they can connect, and then you want the iPad because you can share. It's easier. If you have an Android and you have the Mac, it's more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, they were very smart in doing that, yeah. So once you're in, they have you.
More than the brand, I think that usability of the computer for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's more, it kind of knows how I'm going to use it
Mhm.
already. It's like, with Windows you have to accept a lot of stuff and wait, download, and then when you want to turn it off, you always have to download. And after a while, if you're in a rush, so
Yep.
I was a Windows person for a long time. Then I tried a Mac for a while, for a friend, and since then
Now you're
then
sold.
I have an Android, then
Yep.
I won't leave for an Apple phone.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, it's more the product, not the brand.
Okay.
I do agree.
Yeah, maybe with the computer it can still be like that. Yeah. But the point here is that the mobile phone as well, it's just an extension of yourself. Yeah, I mean, we also have a famous article on this where it's just mentioned as your travel buddy. Yeah, so the phone goes beyond its functional approach. Think about airplanes. What are they nowadays? I actually cannot remember what I wrote down here. Travel organizations, yeah, so they also give you the feeling that you are jumping literally on board from the moment you book a ticket till the moment you leave the plane, yeah, so it's not just the plane that you're going in, but it's an organization that makes sure you have a fantastic travel, yeah, so the way you've reframed these words depends also then on how you want the customer to interact with your brand. Think about food, what is that nowadays? I mean, when you go on Instagram, 90% of the pictures is about food. Yeah, exactly. Sensory experience, yeah. So you want to see it, you want to feel it, you want to touch it, you want to smell it, yeah. So how do restaurants define themselves nowadays, or what makes you to go to this one restaurant over another one? Maybe the quality of the food is the same, but the way they present it, the way they have the design of the room, yeah, all these elements do make a difference. Universities. Knowledge banks.
Universities are very bad
Yeah.
at doing experiences.
Yeah.
They try to start it, but yeah.
There's-
I think you should just take the students and design something with them together.
Exactly. So when we take the knowledge bank approach,
Yes.
we can say we're here together to create knowledge, to co-create, and together get a better output to it. Yeah. So it's not this. I mean, I'm doing this now, standing and talking, but it should be something that we co-create an experience, and that knowledge is created together. Yeah. So this experience, this approach to curriculum design as well, this approach to classroom ethics brings a completely different discussion to the table. Yeah. So where does this come from? Think about the very 5 P's that we have been hearing about for the last decades. Yeah, product, promotion, price, promote, and place. What do you think are the opposite 5 P's I'm going to list here? Because these are, of course, they're still important, but there is a different dynamic happening now. We have a different list of C's now. Yeah, exactly. Consumer connections, conversation, content, community. Where does this all come from? What dominates this thing? social media has actually evolved this. Yeah? So it's not so much about having the consumer, but it's also about the connections we have with the consumer network. Yeah? If I'm happy with my product, the connections go via Juliette, she spreads the word via the rest of the groups. Yeah? This also has to do with conversations. Yeah? How much are people talking about your product online? Yeah? Content, what is shared about my brand, what I'm sharing about your brand is so important to be popular. Community, we want to have a tight community online or offline where we can feel like everyone is welcome and everyone is an ambassador of your brand. Yeah? I also will post the slides online in case you're interested in this. So what does it mean for storytelling design when we're thinking about this versus that? Of course, I'm not saying that we have to get rid of those 5 Ps. Yeah, they are in core still important when I'm thinking about marketing design. But when I think about storytelling, the right ones are much more important, yeah? Because what do I want to do? I want the consumer to connect with my brand. I wanted to have a conversation about it. I wanted to have content that matters to them, and I want a community that take care of my brand. Yeah? So this is something that we also have to keep in mind when we are thinking about branding and storytelling. Are there any questions so far on the introduction to the topic? No? Do you want a short break before we jump into the branding and experience design? Yeah? So maybe we have 10 minutes break and we start at 11 for the next section?
I'm curious on the statistics of the traditional marketing, which to 84%.
Yeah.
I think it's still doing okay, the traditional marketing. But I don't know what criteria they use to get to that 84%.
I mean, here? Or, I mean, do you think someone is missing who was sitting next to you? No? Okay. So, today, this session we are talking about branding and experience. So how will it look like? I will discuss a little bit what is branding, what are the principles of branding, and then I will have an assignment for you, and then I think it will be 12:30 and then we can go for lunch. Yeah? So branding and experiences. Who of you is familiar with the concept of branding or has been working with branding in their jobs or in any projects? No? No one? Okay. So maybe we can ask then the very basic questions. What is a brand? How would you define that?
Be name or logo.
Yeah.
Or design.
Yeah.
That help to distinguish one company from another or one destination from another.
Yeah. So the D we already have covered, distinct. Yeah. Being different than your competitors. Yeah.
It's also kind of like the overall experience, like the heart and soul of the company, like what makes them special, how they present themselves.
Yeah. So here we have the B is also like a blueprint. Yeah. So indeed, what am I offering?
Also a little bit like a hashtag. The hashtag what we were talking this morning. That it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
That the association of topics or terms are really very well connected with the company.
Exactly. So this would also be the smiley where it's about who am I, what do I stand for, how can people connect with me on a personal level. Yeah? Something else? We still have a handshake. What is a brand as well? It's an agreement between two parties. Yeah. So if I go and buy, I should not always use Apple as an example, but if I'm going to buy a Manor, yeah, I know that I'm going to get a very, at least in my opinion, very delicious cookie. Yeah. So the brand stands for an agreement that I have, that the brand promised me something and I'm going to expect something. Then we still have the heart-faced icon.
The identity. What? Yeah. The
Yeah.
emotional group.
Yeah. But it's an R we are searching for. Relationship, yeah. So you also want to bond with a brand because you are intended to work with it on a longer time, yeah. So you want to come back, and I want you to come back because I want to forecast my profits in the end, yeah. So how do we create relationships with a brand? What we already heard with having this distinctive personality, with finding these associations between me and the brand, and to tell a story that fits both of us, yeah. How else can we define a brand? This is very maybe a strange picture, but why do you think I put this picture here? What is it?
The gap between your company and the consumer, how to fulfill their needs,
Mm-hmm.
satisfy your consumers.
Exactly. So there is me on my island having a great product, searching for my customers, and my customers are like, I'm searching for a product. Here is a company that I want to work with. But why do you think the bridge is also so important for today's session?
Communication.
Exactly. So storytelling can make this bridge shorter. Yeah. So what do we want? We want to have an effective walk between the two. Yeah, this is a very simplistic example, but just that you a little bit understand of where the storytelling fit into this picture. Then we have this overview. Why do you think I put this here? What does it say about a brand? So in the core, what are we buying when we buy a product or a service or a holiday? A tangible product. Yeah, we want to go to a destination because we want to go to the specific spot. Yeah, we want to buy exactly. So, but there is more to it. Yeah, so if I'm, for example, go to a beach town, the neighboring beach town offers the same. Yeah, there is a beach, there is the ocean, but I can go and distinct myself on different levels. So there is the emotional one and there is the experiential one. Yeah, so when we do storytelling design, those two might be very important to keep in mind. Yeah, so the unique properties are what do I have to offer in its core and what kind of experience do I have to offer you. But the emotional one, the way you bond with me as a destination or the way you bond with my brand is for everyone individually different. So that's why it's also written here the unique properties. So when I'm thinking about competitive advantage, you might want to work on this level. If you say I want the customer to feel connected to my brand, I want to think about how can I make an experience that emotionally brings my customer very, very unique and very happy. Yeah? What are emotions that we want to experience? Of course, we come to that also later in holidays that can go on a very wide range. Yeah, think about these 4 elements we discussed this morning. I want to go and do a destination because I want to know the place. I want to know the people. I want to know about myself. I want to know about the world. Yeah, there are already 4 elements that I can work with on an emotional level. Look at the hashtags here. Someone wrote here hashtag love. Who wrote that? Can you remember? Is still your own hashtag? No? Hashtag talker. Yeah? So we have hashtag hard worker, hashtag passionate. Yeah? Again, what are they? Emotional parts about you as a person. Yeah? So keep this in mind as well when we're thinking about storytelling design. Here we have a matro map of all the elements when we're talking about branding. I mean, I can also just fulfill a whole course on brand management. I think it's super exciting, but I'm not sure if you can see it very clearly though. But the idea here is more that there are so many different elements of a brand that we have to keep in mind when we are designing our brand approach and storytelling to it. Yeah, so first we have to ask ourselves, if we think about naming, naming a brand, think about destinations. What is the most popular name of the DMOs in Europe? I think we discussed it already in our previous class. So,
Paris?
the name of the DMO. How is Berlin called? Yeah.
Visit something.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has that, yeah. So if we would think about...
Let's explore.
Yeah, you have a completely different one. But in Europe, I don't know, somehow everyone has to visit into it. Yeah? So if we would think about the adaptability, the protectability, the memorability, I would be a little bit critical on that. Yeah. So if we think about brand naming, we also have to be very thinking about what does the brand name says to the customer. If I cannot pronounce it, do I want to be linked to a brand I cannot pronounce or cannot remember? Yeah, very, very easy things, but so crucial. And then we, of course, here we're talking about associations. Yeah, with who do I want to associate? Think about celebrities. Yeah, some brands are using celebrities to stand out from the crowd. Yeah, if you don't like the celebrity, but you like the brand, think about what happened to Nike the other week. Have you followed this Twitter boycott as well? So Nike is associating with this famous quarterback, right, in US. And some people are burning their Nike shoes because they say, like, I don't want to be associated with Nike if they're using that person to stand out with. Horrible, yeah? So using such a, I mean, there's a whole discussion on it if you're interested, but consumers can go on a really nasty way responding to your brand actions. This is also which brings us to the brown line, negative outcomes. Yeah, what can customers do when they don't want to use your brand anymore? They can avoid it. Worst case, they can never come back. But they can go online and actually take revenge and complain. Yeah, hashtag boycott. It's the worst hashtag that you want to have with your company, but people are doing that. Yeah. And I mean, there is much more to it. Yeah, so positive outcome, of course, we want to understand this. How can we have people trusting your brand? What do you need to do for a brand to be trusted? You have to have high quality. Yeah, you have to have your promises right. Attachment, admiration, liking, thinking about which brand are you attached to. I mean, clothes is the most physical attachment brand that you have, but you might also have shoe brands that you like, sports brands that you like. Yeah, they all say something about you. Yeah, so this is just a nice ride that you can also think about when you want to create positive outcomes. So here we have some brand, how's it called? Concepts that we have to keep in mind. Yeah, so there are just some questions. Brand characteristics. So in a destination brand, we have to ask yourself, what makes the brand what it is? Yeah, so for a destination, we have to ask ourselves, why would people come to our destination? When we think about storytelling design, we might have to be very critical on this. Yeah, because do we want to always tell the story of Sisi in Vienna? Maybe I think there is more to Vienna than only that. Yeah, Habsburg history. Yeah, so we have to be very critical on such question. What does the brand offer? So here we can also think about experience design. What are we able to offer? Yeah? Do we go beyond just this church visit? Do we want to go beyond just the basic size, or is there much more to it? Again, Airbnb experiences, this new product development from Airbnb is a great example of going beyond that, yeah, and saying, hey, there is much more to destination than just that. The tonality, what is the brand like? Think about Berlin. How would you describe Berlin now you have been here for a week? What words come up to your, if you would summarize Berlin? Could you say, doesn't matter. It's fun? Or is it understatement? Is it what?
Unconventional.
Unconventional, yeah. Alive, yeah. What else do you have with Berlin for a feeling? Diverse. Yeah, so these are words already that you experience while you are here. Yeah, and then the DMO has to ask themselves, do I want actually customers to have this feeling of diverse when they are in the city? Yes or no? Yeah. So we also did a study on that. So we looked into social media content, and we looked into Vienna on how people actually review Vienna as a city. And we looked into I come to that in a second, into the dimensions of brand personality. Yeah, so if I were to explain Vienna as a person, yeah, if I would describe you, I would say she's exciting, she's fun, she's smart. Vienna can be explained the same. Yeah, look at the words what you just mentioned. So here we have to ask ourselves, what do I want the brand to, what is the tone I want to set with the brand? Yeah? Think about a brand that you are really fond of. What is a tone that they are very famous for? Do you have an example of a brand that you are interacting a lot with? Who's having Ray-Ban sunglasses? No? I keep very shy, like, yeah.
Nobody else? What's going on?
Yeah. Okay, maybe, yeah. Some other brand. Who's having Nike shoes? Yeah. What would be the tone that Nike is trying to put forward? Just do it, yeah. Brand image, yeah, how does the brand come across? Yeah, so there might also be some misconceptions about what the brand is and what I want it to be, yeah. So here lies the importance also of social media analysis, where we say, what are people talking about out there, and is it what we want them to talk about? Yeah? Who is the brand? What is the competence? What am I able to give you when you think about Nike shoes again? Why are you buying those shoes? Because what are they communicating very strongly? High quality. Yeah, they want to make sure that the shoe that you are running in or that you are using for a daily basis is Great. Yeah. What else are they very strong in? Personalization. Yeah, they have this really great tool of making the shoe that fits you the best. Yeah. And promise as well. Yeah, of course. Ooh, if you promise something too much and you cannot, and the customer doesn't get it, you get disappointed. Yeah. So you also have to ask yourself, can I make my promise come true? Yeah. The customer and the brand. So now, once more, really put yourself into the shoes of a brand that you like or a destination that you like, and we follow the discussion. So think about the brand should please and comfort. Yeah. So pleasing is the first thing. If I'm putting money on the table, I want to make sure that I'm pleased with that. Yeah. So if I'm putting 100 euros there to buy a good pair of shoes, the shoes better don't hurt and fit me well. Yeah. If I'm booking a plane ticket, I better arrive first of all on time at all, and I have a nice experience with the plane. Yeah, so this is the first thing. Then it should also offer me this comfort of security, relief maybe. Yeah, so for example, when I'm coming to the airport, I feel like they're all friendly, I will be fine, everything will be taken care of. I feel secure, I feel like someone has been thought through on the product I'm going to buy now. Yeah? So also in a destination, what would that mean? Where would a destination be able to actually offer this comfort? Think about going from this train station from Berlin to Eberswalde. How easy was it to find your way?
Depending on the day.
But for example, if I know that there are smart tools around where I can see how long I have to wait for the bus, there is an easy app where I can get myself around. Yeah?
That was okay.
It was okay?
With if you have with the apps, yeah, but it was difficult. But when you follow the Google Maps or directions, easy to get the ticket at the train station.
Mm-hmm.
The things they put in place are easy just to get around the way.
Mm-hmm.
When you have first time here to move around the different. That we manage at least.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Google Maps is of course something that goes beyond a control of a DMO. Yeah, I mean this is something that we are not having in our control. But think about signs in a destination. Yeah, have you been in a destination where you could not find your way around because there's simply no? You have to rely on Google Maps.
We have it in my hometown, so it's quite confusing first of all.
Yeah.
And then on the very end, I don't think that the tourists could find their way following those signs. There is some kind of rechanging, removing those signs, but still I don't think that they could be useful for tourists who are staying, especially in Porto, it's in Montenegro, it's about 2-3 hours most. So it is small town, but you could not find anything without a guide.
So what happens when you are in that situation? How do you leave the city then? Yeah, frustrated. You think, am I even welcome? Do they want me here? Yeah, they could have done a better job in giving me the feeling I can learn something. So there are very basic things that you can give you this psychological comfort when you're in a destination. Yeah. Then we also, of course, talking about product performance. Yeah. Functional performance also has a little bit to do again with a destination, with transportation hubs, for example. Yeah. Transparency of how long do I have to wait for a bus, where can I buy my ticket. All these things do make a difference on how I get around in a destination. Yeah? What makes it difficult on a tourist experience when we're talking about performance? We have so many elements. Yeah? You have the hotel, you have other restaurants, sites. Yeah? So of course as a DMO you cannot control all these individual performance elements. Yeah?
Weather also plays a lot of job.
Unfortunately, yeah. But that's something uncontrollable, yeah. But there are other things as a DMO how you could respond to that, yeah.
Weather forecast.
Yeah, or have alternatives for. I think in Norway they have this alternative guides. What if it's bad weather? They have an alternative guide for rainy days. Yeah, so you feel like there is given thought about what if, and you have given an opportunity to do something else. Yeah. Again, you are telling the story saying, hey, I know it will be raining tomorrow, we feel sorry for you, but we are going to take care of you anyway. Yeah, so you are recognizing the feelings of the customer, putting them into a story. Looking good, yeah. I mean, this works specifically also with products that you wear or that you want to have close to you. Yeah? Think about watches, for example, or thinking about bags or any other product you want to also show off with something. Yeah, or say, oh, that brand I have, it fits me. I want people to see that I'm wearing that. But why do you think people are taking selfies when they are traveling with famous sites? Has the same effect. Yeah, saying, I don't know, you can ask yourself the question, why do you take selfies next to a specific site and post it online? Why would you do that? Because you're proud you made it there, you want to show off saying, hey, you know, this is something very important to me, or I made it here. Yeah, there are different feelings of why you do that. Yeah, so a destination can also ask itself, how can I design or play with this perceptual sensory aesthetics of a destination. Yeah? If I'm able to go to a destination and taste and interact with the local food, or in Vienna we are very into wine as well, yeah? I can also say, oh, I was actually doing really this joy de vivre moment in Vienna and I feel so much better now. So there are so many aspects of how you can work with this sensory part of the brand. Here we come again to this desired self, actual self, yeah? So think about yourself. Who of you has traveled over the last summer months somewhere? Okay, almost everyone, yeah? So ask yourself the question, why did you go to this destination? Did you? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is more a product choice, yeah? Saying, okay, performance, low price, I go there. You don't even consider yourself, yeah? But maybe you have another explanation. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we are maybe in some generation. There can also be generation differences here. Yeah. So if you have, for example, Claudia, maybe you have a. Where did you go on holiday and was there?
This year I've been to, let's say, France, Belgium, Netherlands. So
I like,
traveled around.
So
last year I've been to Montenegro.
So what I mean, when you were in Montenegro, for example, how did you feel about that?
About what?
Being there. Was
Being
it something
there.
that?
Last year it was very hot in the south. So there were a lot of fire, so it was really a little bit hard. But
Okay.
in the mountains it was really great. So I felt good.
So you felt connected to the
area there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Also to the people. Really interesting people. Open-minded.
Yeah.
So for example, when you go, maybe cities are maybe even more easier to understand this, but let's say, why do you choose Berlin over Vienna, for example, for a city trip? Who would do that? Who would go rather to Berlin than to Vienna? Yeah, so you say, for sure in Berlin I can find myself because I'm hip, young, adventurous. In Vienna I'm not sure if I can find that. You do, but you don't know because it's not presented in that way. Yeah, Vienna Tourist Board is still very much hooking up on this history and this cultural offers, which is really important. But for young people there is also a lot, right, Julia? I think there is, but it's still the hidden gem. Yeah, so what I want to say here is that you also travel somewhere because you want to have this link with yourself and say, when I'm there, I want to represent myself as this person being hip and fun. And when I'm there, my friends also know I am this fun and cool person. Yeah? So when we're talking about storytelling, it's also very important. Yeah? So when we design stories, you also maybe want to say, hey, when I'm going to this destination, I'm actually going to be able to show off and be this cool foodie person that I always wanted to be or that I already am. Yeah? I have later on a really cool example of a Detroit city who actually used a local millennial to show how he's going through the city. Yeah? So again, here we come into the self-pride, self-worth, nostalgic feelings. Yeah? What I am, who I am, and what I want to believe. So here we come into the very basic things of marketing again. Yeah, I have a business goal in the end. Everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to survive. Yeah, so we also want to make sure that users are actually interacting with our brands, but we also want to make sure that we reach a lot of users. Yeah, as I said, shareability is the king. That's the core of our success KPI, I would say, for being in the online world. But when we go to the consumer side, we have a lot of battle to overcome. Yeah, so seeing a video is one thing, saying I like the brand is another thing, but actually saying I'm going to buy it is a much bigger step to take. Yeah, and where do you think where the overlap between those two lie? Liking it and buying it. Think about yourself. Why would you like something and then say, oh, actually I think I'm going to buy it? Because you are convinced. Yeah, something triggered that makes you make this step. What would be that trigger?
Needs, necessity, because I need it.
Yeah, but there are 5 different brand shoes. You need a shoe anyway. But why do you go for Adidas versus Nike?
Because of trust. I trust the brand.
Yeah, with trust it has to do. Yeah.
Credibility.
Yeah.
Because somebody with friends.
Yeah. Your social net. So peer pressure. Yeah.
Philosophy of the brand too.
Yeah. So again, who am I? What is the brand? The concurrence between the two. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So do you feel that the story that they tell fits also with who I am? Do I feel like I can understand what they want to go for? So the philosophy as well. Yeah.
For me, I go for Adidas rather than Nike
Mm-hmm.
because last time I was searching for shoes and I visited both websites.
Mm-hmm.
But when I only got an email from Adidas afterward, and they say like, hey, was there anything disturbing you when you searching for our shoe?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know, I know that it's just like they're emailing, advertising, but it just made me happy because I feel like someone talking to me. So that's why I did pick one from Adidas.
So that's a great example, thinking about experience design, yeah? So being at the website is the point of interest that you have with the brand. But then the brand is smart enough to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to contact this girl per email. Or you know what, I'm going to have my chatbot on Facebook ready to answer your question. KLM is really great in that, yeah? Amsterdam Marketing is doing the same. Yeah, so there is this extra point of interactions that you can create with ICT to say, I'm caring about you, I want you to have a good time with my brand. Yeah? And destinations can do that too. Yeah? Think about this personalized recommendations. TripAdvisor also is changing its business model now purely because they see there is a need for that. Yeah? It's not we have to talk individually to the customer. So what is another important trend that can help us with that? Is this AI, yeah? Artificial intelligence, yeah? And robotics.
But can I say that when we talk about branding, we kind of eliminate those who only consider price. Because if there's a customer who only consider, oh, because it's cheaper, so I buy it, we kind of eliminate this kind of target.
No, I mean, there are still, if I would talk about, like, say, you have a pie, yeah, you have 100%, you have always 30 or 40% that says, I go for the cheapest price, and you are my cheapest price offer. Yeah, but there is still 60%, or let's say, there is still 40% that works more on the emotional part, so you can win them on that level, yeah. So it's not black and white here, yeah. There might be, and destinations is even harder, yeah, because as we said, return visitors is hard to forecast, yeah. In research, you can also see we have a hard time still understanding of what is a lifetime of a tourist in your destination. Is there even one? We don't know, yeah. So this is something that we have, of course, to ask. Here we come with the famous brand funnel. Yeah, I think you might also be familiar with this. Yes, of course, awareness, liking it and loving it. Of course, the purchase is one. Here is where you can actually stand out as a brand, and then you want customers to repeat and become loyal. Yeah, loyal, what is that nowadays? Are millennials, I mean, you can ask the question for yourself, are you loyal to brands? Depends.
Until we find something better.
Exactly. It's a really bad answer, actually. Yeah. Yeah. So loyalty is something very, very tricky as well. Yeah.
But I think this is a very good answer for your generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Because things can change.
Yeah, things are changing all the time, and the complexity. It is a little bit the Tinder answer. Look, there's something better. And therefore, I'm always asking myself if you can be loyal to a destination.
No, that's
you want to see everything. So you're not like, let's say, your grandparents, for example, that say, okay, we know now Innsbruck or whatever, and this was nice, and the hotel was nice, so we go there every year. No, why?
No.
You want to see the word. So I think loyalty for a destination is really
It's
difficult.
really
Yeah.
like the inflation in Berlin. Maybe 10 years later, people find it too expensive to be. Hong Kong, after being occupied, then it's not become like nothing the same. So I think destination is good.
But loyalty here and
To explore with maybe the way you said the older generation, because I've seen some people always come visit our country every year. Every year they go to the same place. They go to the same place. Yeah. Yes. But the younger ones, I think we want to explore more, see the whole world. Yeah.
so what is the trend nowadays? People rather go for 3-4 days 5 times a year than blocking 1 or 2 weeks per year. Yeah, so there lies a chance in saying, okay, if this person comes 5 times a year at least in Europe or 3 trips of Europe, I want to be every second year on his list, for example. Yeah, think about me. I have been in Berlin. I cannot even count it. And every time there is something new to offer. Yeah, so or to experience. So there lies some power in that. Yeah, but loyalty can go beyond just me coming back. Loyalty also means what else?
Recommendation.
Exactly. So as a destination, you can also say, okay, maybe I'm not intending for this person to come back, but I want him or her at least to say to other people, come to Berlin. This is such an awesome place. Yeah. What do you have no costs, but you gain new customers. Yeah, so
that was the president this morning who told us just to spread the word.
Exactly.
The word about that Eberswalde is really a good place to be.
Yeah. I mean, in the afternoon we will see how good you are in that, because there will be some task on that. Yeah. But it's true. Yeah. I mean, think about yourself. If you go to new places, why do you go there? Because many of your friends have been there, you have heard good stories about that, yeah. It's many of the cases like that. So resonance, this also has to do with, does the brand fit within the cultural aspect? Yeah, so also different markets might have different feelings to the brand, so you also have to be very cautious of cultural differences. What fits in one culture might not fit in another, so you also have to be very careful with that. Does it fit with my organization? Am I able to actually be this cool brand? Yeah, if I have a very hierarchical or bureaucratic way of doing things, but I want to be very innovative and creative, those things might clash. Yeah, so if I want to speed up innovation very fast within my company, but my company has not the structure to do so, I think you are not really becoming a successful brand. Yeah, so the infrastructure needs to also be there. And then of course also on a personal level. If I work for a company, do I also resonate with the brand? And do I as a customer resonate with the brand itself? Yeah, so resonation is a very important, critical thing when we are designing the brand in its core. Yeah. We are a little bit short in time, otherwise we could spend a little bit more time on brand designing per se, but I just want you to understand the core of storytelling from the branding perspective. Who has seen this wheel before, the brand steering wheel? Claudia? No? So what is the core idea behind this is that a brand is divided into 2. Think about the hashtags I asked you to write. You have hard facts, yeah? I'm Dutch, I'm into tourism, but I'm also creative and I'm disciplined. Yeah? This is exactly the same division that we are seeing here. We have the hard facts, so what is the functional, what has the brand to offer, and what are the characteristics, what are the attributes. Yeah? Very basic. But then we come to the more emotional parts, soft facts, what is the tonality, yeah, how is the brand, what are the personality traits, is it fun, is it exciting, what can I experience, but also the brand appearance, yeah. How does it look like, how do I feel, how does it smell, what can I taste in the destination, yeah. So of course finding the right balance between those 4 elements might make the perfect brand. Storytelling goes of course a little bit more on this part, yeah. Because sensing what people want and working on those sensors are so important to trigger this deep connection. Yeah? Here is this concept of brand personality. Yeah? So we talked about that already before. You're going to a destination because you want it to be same like how you are, or you want people to have a different feeling about your destination. Think about Berlin. Yeah, we have these 5 dimensions: sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, and rawness. If we were to describe Berlin, which words would you choose from those that we see here? Is there some words from sincerity that you see? Would you Down to earth. Yeah? Do you think there is some excitement? I heard already cool and young before. Someone said also contemporary, right? Trending. Is there some competent feeling in it as well? Okay. Maybe sophistication. Maybe we... Is there some glamorous here or some charming feeling to Berlin? Doesn't have to be, yeah, but... What about rockness? This should, by the way, not be glamorous and good looking. Sorry, I just see that's double now. So rockness is more the rough side of a destination. Yeah, manly, tough, outdoors, adventurous. Yeah. So what happens if I'm a destination and everyone thinks I'm sophisticated? Yeah. Think about Monaco, for example. Yeah? The first thing you think, you might come across those things. Yeah. But if I want to rebrand, maybe I want to think about, maybe there are other words or other brand personality dimensions I want to use so that also other people come to my destination. Yeah? Maybe you are perceived as a very sincere destination, yeah, so think about Bergen, for example, Norway, yeah. They're still very small, it's still very calm, very, very trusty, but maybe they say, actually we want also to have this rock feeling. Yeah? We want people to come to our destination, be able to go on a boat, explore the fjords, climb up the fjords, and have this really cool feeling of being in nature. Yeah? So you can reframe your destination by simply thinking about the personality that you want to be for the person coming to your destination. Yeah? So we keep this also in mind when we're thinking about storytelling design. Yeah? Maybe now you understand these words if you think about the hashtags I was asking you to describe yourself. Yeah? Interestingly, in Vienna we did a study and we asked people in the survey what they want to experience about Vienna. Of course, everyone mentioned those. No one mentioned rockness. But in the reviews online, we found people were actually talking a lot about rockness. Yeah? So even people don't think that they want that. When we're looking into reviews, people are talking about it. Yeah. So again, we have to be careful with using surveys compared to online data, because what speaks better, the truth. I mean, we have discussed it yesterday as well. Mm-hmm. The blogs and what people write from their own experience. Yeah. So we keep this also in mind when we come to the creative part of the class. So of course we have different analysis to do. Yeah, if you would run a whole semester with me, we would spend the whole afternoon on this. Yeah, so who is my customer? What is my competitor doing? But also how is my current brand performing? Yeah, so there are different analyses that you can do to do an audit on saying, are we actually on the right track, and do we want to change, and how should we change? Yeah. So it all depends on this brand experience. Yeah, as we said, what do I want you to experience? Look at what's all these elements that influences it. Yeah. So it has to do with the packaging, with how I present myself, which media outlets I use, which mobile applications I'm available at. Yeah. So these are all just examples of, even though I'm in charge of the brand experience design, there is so much more that can influence it. Yeah. So also when we do storytelling design, we have to think about which one of those do we want to use to have a stronger story being conveyed to the audience. Yeah?
Lydia, may I be a little bit nasty?
Yeah.
Okay, go back to the...
Yeah.
So what about the human aspect?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, if I go to, let's say you come here,
yeah.
Imagine you come to Eberswalde and your first experience here when you touch the ground is somebody who don't speak English, your room is not prepared, you don't have Wi-Fi, they don't offer you something, they just let you there and tell you, okay, we'll come back to you in an hour. So imagine this experience and the human factor, so which people you are meeting,
interacting,
and which people you are interacting with. You talked about Berlin. If you go to a certain area, you meet other people than in another area. So your brand experience, for example, for Berlin, could be completely different according to the people you are meeting. So I think this is also in every destination you have this human factor, because
Yep.
in tourism we always think about, okay, these are things we can manage, but mostly it is just the waitress
Yep.
or the receptionist.
In Vienna,
or-
yeah. In Vienna for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always have a bad day.
Yeah.
So I think we should put somewhere this.
I mean, the next slide is about the discussion we just had 10 minutes ago to put it into place branding, and then we come exactly there. Yeah. So this slide is more meant of if I'm about to communicate about my destination, so not even talking about when the consumer is already in the destination, but more about communicating it. Where can I let people at least experience the brand, even if they have not interacted with it yet? Yeah? And then we come indeed to the part of when I'm coming to a destination, what do I do then? Yeah. Destination branding, place branding. So branding is very complex. Putting it into a destination framework makes it even more complex. Yeah. So complex plus complex is what? Very exciting, right? So we can make it also very nice. It's okay, it's an emotional exchange. Yeah, so as Gerda also said, I'm coming to a destination, I'm having expectations, there is another person welcoming me. And then there is an emotional exchange of being disappointed or being very happy that someone was receiving me. Yeah, so again, if it's seen as an emotional exchange, we also have to use those emotions as a way to get customers coming to us. Yeah. Emotional exchange can also happen on me being at an Airbnb platform, Airbnb room, meeting locals, meeting friends, meeting the think about the one who guided us yesterday in the botanical garden. Yeah. If you think back about the botanical garden now, or at least for me, the guide is one of the ones that I will remember, yeah, or if not the beaver. But so there is a lot to be saying about this emotional exchange. Yeah. You had a...
Actually, emotions are quite important, but I think emotions are more attached to the concept of image and reputations and branding. Do you agree with me?
I mean, where does the image come from? How do you form an image?
It depends. Sometimes you are forming the image based on a direct experience or indirect experience, maybe word of mouth or information you got somewhere. It depends. But I think when we are talking about emotions, perceptions, maybe we are talking about images and reputations more than a brand. I think most of the time brands are starting from the point of view of the company or the organization. But when we're talking about how we are perceiving it, we are more talking about the consumer side, which is image and reputation more than a brand.
Yeah.
I think so.
No, that's a really good point, and that's also what today's discussion should be about, where we say, I'm just showing you here that if I'm a destination and I want to brand myself, you need to have those basics in mind. But now, as we saw before, the dialogue has changed. We have to listen to the customer. Yeah, what is he thinking about my destination? Where does his image come from? And can we work with that to change the dialogue about my brand? Yeah, so it's a good point. Yeah. So the concept of a sense of place, yeah. How do my customers or I don't like to talk in terms of customers when we talk about tourists, but how do tourists perceive my place? Yeah? How do you sense something? Yeah. Do you feel at home? Does it make you remind of something? It's also, of course, very. We have to also think about how is someone perceiving the space where he is. Yeah. For you, something can be crowded. For me, it can be okay. Yeah, so we also have to take these perceptions of how is someone actually being in my city. Yeah? So tourists want to learn. Yeah, the reason why I put this slide here is that when we are designing stories, yeah, we also want them to feel that they can come to a destination and learn something. Yeah? So think about, you want to know about the knowledge, you want to understand your emotional response. You also want to maybe learn things. Yeah, maybe you want to learn how to climb, or maybe you want to do some handcrafting. There are different ways of how I can actually interact with the cultural heritage of a destination, of myself. So you are involved in the production of meaning. What do I mean with that? Why do we have this buzzword of co-creation since a few years? Who needs to, with any other product it's super easy. I bought a product and I use it. But what happens when you go for a 2-day trip in Berlin?
Receptions are quite important.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Receptions?
Yeah, also?
Just how you identify as a place.
Yeah. What do you say?
Just that a trip, when you are traveling, it's never one product that you're buying. There are a lot of different services you're doing, and also there might be a lot of different experiences at once.
And who has to do that? You, right? So you have to be actively in the destination. If you can't just lie in your hotel room the whole day, and that was your experience of Berlin, but you can also be very active and say, you know what, I'm going to download a local guide, I'm going to book a Airbnb experience, you know. So the way you perceive meaning from a destination, it's really up to the tourist, yeah? But what do you need to give him? The right tools to do so, yeah? So indeed, if you don't have an app or you don't have a nice website available, how can he create meaning if there is not the right tools for him around, yeah? How can you also create meaning? It's the title of the class. Storytelling, yeah? So you can also say, you know what, you can jump on a story when you are joining into our destination, or later on when we go into the museum, yeah? The museum can also bring you into a story of history, yeah? And by going into that history, I can produce meaning about the history of Eberswalde, yeah? So it's very physiological, I would say, like it's very... It's a tough discussion that we could have on this topic, but it's more that you think about the tourist is actively producing his own experience, yeah? So you can provide him the right tools, but he has to do it himself, yeah? And stories are the connecting line in this concept. Here we come to destination branding, yeah? So we have these logos, of course, we already heard it before. The basic thing is to have a proper logo available, yeah, because it speaks for something. But who of you is going to a DMO website to check out what the city has to offer which you're going to visit? Yeah, okay, a few. Yeah. But also a few not. Why are you not? For the ones who didn't raise their hands, why are you not checking a DMO's website?
DMO by end of the day, just a business. So you want to sell the products, and maybe
So you are this skeptic advertising, traditional advertising. Yeah.
I think that now I'm into this sector and I know about DMO, so I check it, but before studying tourism, I didn't even know what was a DMO. So I was just Googling and visiting different websites, and maybe by chance I could also see it.
Yeah, so also not knowing, yeah. So they could do a better job in saying you have to come to us in order to get all the information you need about the destination. Yeah.
Sometimes it's also difficult to really understand which is the official website of the DMO, because maybe you have, I don't know, Italy, Visit Italy, Tourism Office Italy, and if you're not in the field, you don't really know where they should go, who you should trust.
So that's also a problem, yeah, of having different stakeholders representing something, yeah.
And I don't know why I should go to a DMO when I can have better reviews, or more impartial reviews from TripAdvisor or Google Maps.
But what are DMOs doing nowadays? They actually are inserting TripAdvisor reviews into their websites. Yeah, so they're having this link with social media platforms on their website saying, hey, you know what, we have basic information, but if you want to have the user-generated content, you can also see that directly. Yeah, so there's one way of already, I don't like the word, but co-creating the content between the two parties. Yeah, so there's one way of doing that. So what is a destination brand? So we are in the core trying to create an experience that create a memory. Yeah, very, very basic. But think about yourself, what is a memory of your last holidays? Why was that memory so special? Think about one of your last holidays. Maybe someone can give an example of something, of a memory that you have.
Maybe it's because of the people you went there with. So you had
Yeah.
friends together and like a good memory of your friendship, your relationship.
Yeah. So what was the function of your holiday, or what was the destination able to do to give you a good time and bond with your partner or friends? Yeah. Something else?
Ireland, and we made the Atlantic Way coast, and we really had a nice and easy experience, I can say, because the street were all signed with the same logo of the Wild Atlantic Way, and I mean the destination branding was really good, I think, because it was really easy to follow where to go, where are the attractions.
So you learn a lot about the trail then, right? Yeah. So also learning. Yeah. Something else?
I also went to Ireland, and my story was that I didn't have a visa to go there, and it was my mistake that I thought I could go to Ireland with my British resident card because I was in England last year, and I thought Ireland belongs to the UK, so I didn't even check if I need a visa to enter the country. But like in the border check, after checking my accommodation, return flight, and asking general questions, the officer still let me in and issued me an instant visa. And like for me, the whole conversation with him and the way he speak to me, like I don't know, it's so friendly and welcome. And I was like, wow, I still can enter Ireland without a visa. And I told that story to all of my friends, and all of them had the same reaction. Yeah, that's Irish people. That's
Yeah, so you have a really good memory on the hospitality of the bar.
You should have told this story to John. Huh?
Yeah,
it would have made him proud about Irish people and how friendly they are.
Yeah, and also it's like create the very first, how to say, impression of me about Ireland. And after I say goodbye to that officer, he even said that enjoy your time in Ireland and like welcome to Dublin or enjoy Dublin. I was so happy.
So if you think about storytelling design, yeah, I think there is one campaign, I just cannot remember which destination, who I think it's Oslo who is doing that. So what they do actually, they have a couple, maybe I can pull out the video later, but they do exactly that, where they say, if you come to Oslo airport, they are welcoming you, you know, the smooth transition into the destination, and they do this like informal video from the couple going through Oslo, yeah, but those interactions decide so much on how you feel about a destination, yeah, so that's why I'm asking you, what kind of memories do you have, and maybe those memories are so important pieces to bring into a story or campaign that you want to bring out about your destination. Yeah, it can be something very simple, yeah. Do you think the DMO would have thought about having happy officers at the airport?
Yeah,
maybe not per se, yeah, but...
And I heard that in so many countries that in the checking border, they train the officer there to smile when they check in the passport, because so many of them just like sitting there with the cold faces and do the stamp on the passport. And yeah, even that time when I was in Ireland, I feel lucky as well because there were 5 or 4 officers at the border check, but the man who was talking to me, he looked really friendly, while the other, with that cold faces. So I think maybe that was the reason why I lucky enough to enter the
No one would know. Yeah. Cool, yeah, no, that's good. So there's also something later on when we come to that exercise, keep that in mind, yeah. What do you think about destinations? We also have to make sure, be aware that the customer wants to reduce his search costs and perceive risk. Yeah, so thinking about every time I spend money on a hotel or an airline, I am risking my money on not getting the service I want. Yeah, so what's a moment like that, if we would capture that on a video or be a part of a story, what does it give me? It gives me a reduced feeling of being at risk going through the airline check. Yeah, so there are little moments of, again, making that you feel secured or welcome in the country. Yeah, so we can also think about how can I make sure that the perceived risk is down, and that if he's putting money in, which I mean everyone has to do if you want to travel, how can I make sure he's getting the money value for his money? Yeah. I will skip the slides. I always have a tendency to prepare more slides than needed. Yeah. So, destination personality. Yeah. So again, we have to think about what makes it meaningful for you to come to my destination. Yeah. What is its identification? We also see that it actually makes me maybe want to come back. Yeah. If I say I had such a good time there, it's easy to get to. It's not so expensive. Maybe I'm coming back in a year or 2. So what should it be about? It should be attractive. You should be able to communicate. Again, here it should be about brand personality. Yeah, maybe you want to have some fun marketing activities. Yeah, who of you has seen this campaign by Visit Brussels in, when was that, 2 years ago, where they had this campaign about locals picking up the phone in the city center, and where other so there was the Paris attack, unfortunately, in November 15, and then right in March, was it March 16 that Brussels did that? They had this campaign where they had locals answering the phone in the city center, where people from abroad would call and say, can I come to your destination? Is it safe? And then locals would answer and actually give them a feeling, no, you can come, it's really nice, and I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So it was a very, I can also see if I can pull that one out, that you have a feeling of doing something really lucrative and say, you know what, we're going to respond to this feeling of terror in Europe, and we're going to say as a DMO, you can still come to our destination, we make sure you are safe. Yeah? Just an example of how you can do a very innovative way of breaking that elephant in the room and say, hey, you know, we are actually listening to your fears. So why would someone plan to come to your destination? Yeah, it's also always a question. Yeah, why would someone be there? Often this question is forgotten. What is your DNA? Yeah, so DNA can take place, of course, everyone relies back on history. That's something very important, but at one point maybe we want to go beyond history, yeah, because this is something that can maybe get a little bit boring. Yeah, so we also want to see if there are traditions, maybe there are some visual quality that we can use, maybe there is something very beautiful that no one knows about. Yeah, so you can use a different method, or I would say that a combination of those to make the DNA happen. Yeah? Okay, so what are we discussing? How will the afternoon look like? So first I will explain a little bit about emotional branding. We have already discussed that shortly this morning, but just to remind a little bit, what are emotions and what can they do, or how can we use them to be more effective in our communication? Then we are going to work in the groups again to analyze emotional branding in the case of destinations. Then I will shortly explain storytelling, and then there is a final assignment also to be worked in groups, and there will be somehow a jury setting with Claudia and me, where we decide the winning team, and a small souvenir from Vienna is your prize. So this should be exciting to have the last 2 hours in class to work towards that. Yeah, so it looks like we will be finishing on time, 4:30, and then we have enough time to get over to the museum. Yeah? Emotional branding. Who of you have heard about this concept? Who have read about it? Yeah? So if you think about emotional branding, do you have an example?
Nespresso?
Yeah?
Well, it's simply, it's the capsule machine, but I think it hooked with the emotion that it had a chic, modern lifestyle, and with George Clooney as the representative.
So they are using a celebrity to actually have this famous icon.
Also their flagships.
Yeah.
In all the cities, it's just pretty chic and kind of like a VIP level. Everyone can just enter. So I think they also produce a kind of like a social entities for the customers.
Yeah, they're really a great example. Do you have a?
Generally, it's about appealing to emotions instead of appealing to logics. For example, instead of promoting Mercedes, saying that it's a very fast car, they will say that you feel powerful. It's about status.
I mean, the car industry is doing a great job in deciding how the brand will be. Yeah. So this is, I have in the course I'm teaching, we have quite some examples from the car industry using emotions, especially to target women or to target families to use specific brands, yeah, over another. Who of you is using Dove as a beauty product? Only one? Really? Okay. So they are really also great in standing out on doing emotional branding campaigns. Yeah? But also for men. They have now Man Care, this new line, and they are doing great stuff also on why men should use these products. So emotional branding, if you think about the tourism industry, we can see that it has to do again with this experience. Yeah, it's a manipulation of interacting with the place. So emotions are at the core of that experience. We discussed it quite well this morning. The point that I want to point out here is that it's really about this every point of the journey. Yeah, so oh no, it's later. So if you think about going into a restaurant, now maybe we take either an easier example. Who of you has been to IKEA to buy a bed or whatever? Yeah. How would you design your customer journey of IKEA visit?
Sometimes stressful.
So if we would map out the emotions, how would that go?
Well,
You first are you are.
And there's running fast,
Mm-hmm.
including thinking, and then that stressful part, where you can find on the right place what you were thinking that is there, and then couldn't find the right item because there is no more red chairs, for instance. And then you find the replacement, and you're happy because you spend your money at IKEA.
Yeah. So exactly. So we have this curve of emotions going like that. Yeah. So the same can happen in a destination or when you're in a hotel. Yeah. So the curve of emotions are going quite up and down. Yeah. So what do we have to make sure that we understand which point is the customer interacting with your product? Yeah. So of course, in a destination, in a tourist experience, it can be a large journey, but you can also break them down in specific tangible aspects, yeah? Because in the end, we want to also standardize our experience design, so we have to have some touchable points that we want to work with. Yeah? So you can think about arrival at the airport, arrival at the hotel, designing specific tours in the city, yeah, that people have something to walk. You can have thinking about restaurants, for example, yeah, and then you can ask yourself, what kind of emotions do I want people to feel when they interact with the specific elements? Yeah? So thinking about coming to the airport, I mean, we had this brilliant example already before. You want to feel welcomed, secure, yeah, excited that you're starting your journey. Yeah. When you go to a restaurant, what kind of emotions would you like to feel? Also that is like excitement, but also curiosity. Yeah, what am I going to eat? Yeah. So the point here is more that every point is we can design and we can control, and we have to make sure. If we think about again these hashtags, what kind of hashtags would I like to have on each of those points? Yeah. So emotions, we think that we are rational in our decisions, but actually we are not. Yeah, a lot comes with our emotions. Yeah, and emotions are of course influenced by what our friends are doing, the colors that we see, the things that we hear. Yeah, there's a lot of feeling that comes with it. So if we know that, why don't we just use these? We use that to design and to trigger the customer's interest in our products. Yeah, this is something that we have to keep in mind. So if we look at this, for example, our emotional brain is much bigger than our rational brain. Yeah, so we are much more connected on that level. Yeah, this is just a very simplistic overview, but again, it makes us aware of that we have to work with that. Yeah, because if I ask you, why did you choose this T-shirt over that T-shirt? You might say, yeah, because I like the color red more. Why? Because you have maybe a better feeling with the color. Yeah, so there is again thinking through. Yeah, might be the same with destinations or neighborhoods that you choose. Why do you choose one hotel over another? Yeah, so it's all emotionally driven decisions. So what do we want? We want people to have sensations, to have feelings, and to also work with those feelings. I say, okay, actually, hey, I reckon I'm happy. Makes me great. I want to come back. Yeah. So this formula should be something automatically formed. Yeah, and we can actually steer that. So we have to keep that in mind when we're doing so. So we have this brand experience model, which is very interesting if you're thinking about experience design. So let's have a look. It can go from absorption to immersion, from passive participation to active participation. What are we doing today? I mean, it says already here, education, yeah? So you are absorbing information or knowledge, and you're participation is supposed to be active. You don't necessarily have to be, but I'm expecting you to be active, yeah? So when I have my tourists coming to my destination, I can decide what do I want them to be, how do I want them to have the experience, yeah? So what are we going to do in the afternoon? We're going to the museum, right? So if I'm doing a great job being the museum, how do you call that, manager or curator or something, I would like to have this part, yeah? I want you to actively participate, go and explore the museum, and I want you to absorb knowledge. Huh? What would be an example of this one, where the participation is passive, but absorption is very high?
A C result for kids.
Yeah. Where you...
This famous C result in America, I don't remember the name. Where you can watch like dolphin, orcas.
Exactly, like SeaWorld, for example, yeah. This can also be just simple a movie that you watch about the destination, yeah, or you go to a musical or something where the participation is quite low, easy to do, but you get a lot of information about the destination. Yeah? Immersion, what is immersion actually? Maybe can someone give me an example of being immersed in something? What is the feeling of immersion, of flow? So when you're really in the experience and you forget about time and where you are. Yeah? So think about going on a rafting trip. When you are in the rafting, you are in the moment. Yeah, you cannot. I mean, it's very short. Yeah, it doesn't have to last that long, but it can be very short but intense. Yeah? Immersion can also be being very involved in an activity. So even when you walk into a museum and you're going into analyzing a painting, you can be very immersed in that object. Yeah? So really getting yourself into the moment and being in the flow of the experience. So here is passive participation and immersion. So here we could also think about actually rafting, yeah, because you don't necessarily have to be so active. Or watching the Northern Lights, yeah. You just have to sit and watch it, but you can be very completely into this moment and inspired, get this inspiration from that light. And then of course, where do you think the most of the people are grouped for as tourists? You want to of course have this escape feeling, yeah, where you say I have active participation and I'm immersed into an activity. So rafting would be, for example, grouped in here. Yeah? So already thinking from this brand experience model of how active do I want my customer to be, what kind of level do I want him to absorb, depends on the product that you can design on that. Yeah? So maybe for very young, adventurous people, you find products that might fall into this category, but maybe for people who are more senior or want to take it more easy, you say, okay, I'm going to give them a little bit more of only entertainment or more on this level. Yeah? We have too little time to go more into detail in that, but this is a very interesting starting point to also start thinking about product development and product innovation from experience design approach. Yeah? There are also overlap, yeah. This is not black and white, yeah. That's why there's a diagram, you have arrows, it can go definitely, yeah. It's just to have a little bit of a... So I think with John you also discussed this usage of apps, yeah. So you can also say, okay, what if the participation is passive, but I want them to become active? What can I do to get them more active? An application could be a tool to speed up that participation. Yeah? So there are also, you can also think about what kind of tools can I do to, from the knowledge. Yeah, think about apps. You have these gamification tools. Yeah, we say, you know what? In order to get people more out of their, you know, instead of just walking around the city, I'm letting them download an app and they can game their way through Berlin. And instead of just, you know, having basic knowledge, they can actually absorb much more knowledge because the game allows them to interact with the city much more. Yeah, so this is also quite an easy tool to understand how can I get more out of my destination than what I'm already doing. So this is this emotions that we discussed before. Yeah, you can indeed have all these experience, design. Yeah, I mean we have in research also quite some tools available where we can measure your heartbeat or measure your emotional response to specific experiences. Yeah, so we also have to ask ourselves comes back to this brand personality. What do I want people to experience about my destination? Yeah? Is it? Of course, everyone wants to have excitement and positive feelings, yeah, but what happens if someone is unhappy or moderately happy? And we have to understand what was the trigger of that. Yeah? I skip that for now. Then, of course, emotions is different for everyone. Yeah, so we talked about that earlier as well. You cannot say every tourist to my destination I'm going to group as the same. No, you have to also keep in mind that there are generational differences, if not gender differences. Yeah, so if I'm about to attract a specific target group, I have to keep in mind that kids, different generations might have different feelings about what is important to them. Yeah, very straightforward, but often very much forgotten. Yeah, so if we think about this diagram of experience design, we might also come back to this point, saying, okay, if I was to think about a persona, how would I describe my tourist for this campaign? Yeah? Is she young? Is she well educated? Does she travel a lot? What does she like to do in her free time? And what am I able to offer for her in my destination? So developing this persona is a very useful tool as well to get a better understanding of who my consumer might be. Yeah? Also, when we design stories, what is the story that she wants to hear? Yeah? What is appealing to her? So when I'm teaching, for example, innovation and innovation and entrepreneurship back in our home university, we also come back to that. Yeah, understanding persona design, understanding what is my customer willing to respond to. Then another thing, yeah, you also might underestimate what stereotypes are out there. Yeah, so I just put an interesting thing here. Yeah, so thinking about 45% of the ones who are searching for home improvements are women. Yeah, so we still sometimes think in stereotypes of what men and women are supposed to do, but it's not like that. Yeah, roles are also changing. Look at this one, for example, skin and body care. Also happens a lot on the man side, yeah. So men are also getting much more interested in that. It's the same for holidays, yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean that when you're 65 plus that you're not interested in an active holiday anymore or go on some adventurous trip, yeah. Those people are still very fit and young and have money to spend. So we should also be careful in not categorizing them in too much stereotype approaches. Yeah? So this is something. Again, might make it's very common sense, but still something very important to consider. Here we come to these personas, as I said. So you can define your persona. Of course, we are trying somehow with social media, we are trying to get away from putting people into age and gender and education, because we say lifestyle defines me much more than whether I'm 30 or 40 or 50. Yeah? So what you also have learned yesterday with the big data, we can also understand much more how are we grouping our customer. Yeah? Is it more on the lifestyle? Is it more on the interest? Or is it more on the basic social demographics again? Yeah? And we can see that lifestyle is a much more dominating factor to approach the customer than saying I'm going to approach 20-year-old ones versus 40-year-old ones. Yeah? Of course, also a combination of the two. Yeah, it's very, very complicated, but we can see that things are getting more fuzzy. Yeah, 55-year-olds might have the same interest as someone who's 25-year-old going on holiday. Yeah, this is something with big data we can actually realize and understand how people are moving and behaving in destinations. Yeah, so we have to not underestimate the wisdom that you can get out of such data. Yeah? I will skip that too. So how do you design a brand campaign that is very emotionally driven? Yeah, behave authentically, focus on consistency. Yeah, so always make sure that your brand is talked through on the same level and throughout the same tone. Yeah, don't say one thing at one time and position yourself something at the other time. And build meaningful experience. So what is meaningful in tourism? That you're able to bring someone home with experience that matters to them, yeah? That they felt like they learned something, that they felt like they have become a better person leaving your destination. So I will talk now for 15 minutes about the concept of storytelling. Then I'm going to divide you in groups and you have your final assignment and then you have to pitch the assignment and then we should be done by 4:30. Yeah? So what we have already learned is the storytelling approach in the videos. Yeah, so you already have seen with the case studies that you were working with that there is a strong sense of storytelling, but of course I also want you to work yourself with that. What does it mean to design a story? Yeah, I can tell you a lot about it, but if you start working with it, it becomes much more tangible and more exciting to actually do that. I have to skip some slides because I prepared way too much, so we talk that much. So of course we have to ask ourselves, what is experience that I want people to have? Who are my storytellers? Yeah, so we could see with Canada, for example, they are using already famous people to do so. What are the stories I want to tell? Which channels do I use? And what is my target audience? Yeah, so these are the 4 important layers that decide on how I design my story. Yeah, so we have to just keep that in mind. I will also upload the slides, so if you're interested in more background information, it's available. Yeah, and also if you want more material, I'm happy to share that with you. I will skip this too. So really sorry, I have to go through this now a little bit fast. So yeah, we once more have to keep in mind that it's about framing, coordinating, and putting the pieces of the puzzle together that you want to tell about your destination. You want people to become immersed in plots or characters. Yeah, so stories can happen the same as telling a fairy tale, where you say, you know, I'm one person representing the destination. I want you to join my journey and walk through the destination through my eyes. Or you can say, I'm just taking a feeling that I want the person to have and I'm showing him around using that feeling. Yeah, so you can decide on how you want to plot your story. I mean, look at the 5 different videos that we had. They all have a different approach to storytelling. Yeah? So the story once more really works as this red line. Yeah, so we have all these different elements, but the red line is, for example, come to Canada, we welcome, or come to Toronto, we welcome everyone. Yeah, come to the Chino, all the locals are happy to give you the best insights. Yeah, so the red line is very clearly decided before you start putting that frame around your elements. Why should we design stories? Yeah, I mean, a story is individually linked to a place. Of course, I can be competitive if I have a right story to design. So you should have stories that are hard to copy. Yeah, what happens in Ticino cannot apply for Lugano, or it cannot apply for Berlin. Yeah, so that makes it so interesting to have those locals or influencers coming to your city and talk about your city. You can also say, I'm going to create myth, or I'm going to use actually historical stories to enhance the experience of a city. So how can DMOs approach storytelling? So local stories, I mean, we had a really great example just before. You can think about what are the local experiences. Yeah, so with Airbnb experience, somehow I think DMOs are given an easier task to see, hey, what are my locals looking forward to present to the tourist? Yeah, so if you would go to any Airbnb destination now, you can see locals offering experiences which you might not have known that they are there and giving you that feeling. Yeah? Neighborhood guides as well. It's also very popular. Yeah, we have this Dutch neighborhood guide, which is called 100% Vienna, 100% Berlin, and you have all different guiding tours for every neighborhood with locals inside, written by locals. It's also something that you can work with. I think Airbnb is also working with that. I think tomorrow we will hear more about this development. So we have this digital tourism think tank organization, which is also very much working with DMOs, and they also had this approach to storytelling. Yeah, so of course you first have to ask yourself, what is the right way? Yeah, do I want to use a blog? Do I want to use a website? Do I want to use any kind of social media? What works the best for my destination? Of course, the best is a proper mix. You could see now already YouTube is a very popular tool, but you can also see other tools like Pinterest becoming more important to use. Yeah? Develop a storyboard. So thinking about what is the kind of story that I want to tell, what is the vibe that I want to set with my story, and how I'm going to get there. Yeah, so plan of action. Yeah, if we would have more time, we would devote, I would say, a morning to actually work on the storyboard and plan of action. Of course, you have to ask yourself, who do I want to work with stakeholders, which material do I need, yeah, how do I materialize my story. Gather images and videos, yeah, I mean, Ticino did it great. They just called for videos and have people doing that for them, yeah, so they had kind of a user generated image and videos to their storyline. And then, of course, thinking about authentic stories. Yeah, so having something very particular, saying, okay, my destination is very much, I don't know, famous for one specific thing. We're going to highlight that as our main important story of the destination. Yeah. Unique themes. Okay, I just have to see how much slides I have because I think we have to run a bit through it. So unique themes, yeah, think about what makes my destination so unique. Yeah, I mean, think about the brand wheel that you all represented before. Many of you had shopping, architecture, food and drinks as the brand benefits, yeah. But is that very competitive? Not so much, yeah. So we have to work much more on the right side of the brand wheel where we say, let's go into the soft facts. Yeah, so what is the theme? Welcoming, unique, relaxing. There are different words that we can use to make ourselves so much different than our competitor. So here I just put some examples of what people are searching for. So you can also design a theme or a unique storyline around those elements. Yeah, you can say, I'm going to work on the escape one. I'm going to go into the education. Enhancement of relationships, adventure, exploration of the self, yeah. So when you later on and go to design a story, which I'm going to ask you to do, you can keep this in mind as well. Yeah, saying, okay, what do we want people to come to the destination I'm going to tell you have to design a story for. Yeah. So we can already see that destinations have been using book tourism, film tourism, dog tourism, yeah, theme park, food tours, tourist attractions. Yeah, so there are already quite a lot of things that we can do to get people coming to our destination. Yeah, think about Dubrovnik, Games of Thrones. Yeah, people go there and say, oh, I want to actually walk through that, having the feeling I'm walking into the movie scenery, and I have the feeling I'm exploring the Dubrovnik from a different side. Yeah. No? So, for example, if you would go to Auschwitz, yeah, and you say, I'm going to concentration camp, I want to experience that. It's a really dark part of the history, so I'm going to... no? Or, yeah, indeed, Chernobyl as well, yeah. So we're really, I want to say bad things, but like dark things happen in history. Some people seek that to say, okay, I want to go and find that, yeah. So, of course, you cannot position it as a happy or exciting place, yeah, so or like often it's related to war or like some national disasters. Yeah, it's a very niche tourism, yeah, this is something that is not really but so identify the right way to communicate, yeah. I will skip this too, sorry, really, I overdid it. Guides, yeah, also just a short note on this, a guide can play a very important role. Yeah, think about yesterday when we went to the botanical gardens. At least the guide I was with, I think he was really great in telling the stories, and because he was also an expert, somehow the reliability of the story increases a little bit. Yeah, so guides play a very important role. Yeah? I mean, we have also different guides. Yeah, you can have the official ones who just do the very basic tours, but you can also have the ones like in Vienna we have this tour on shades tours, yeah, so you go and find homeless people give the tours, yeah, or more entrepreneurial ones, yeah, who say, okay, we're going to show you more a little bit what we're going to do tomorrow, yeah. So you can also think about what kind of guides do I want to be active in my city, and what can people see with that guide, yeah. Museum, we do this in 1 hour. So in a museum there is also so much more that you can learn, yeah. So you can, as a museum, I can say I'm going to give you tools, or that you can learn how you can use things. I can also maybe make something that when I leave the museum I have something tangible in my hands, yeah. Or it's more about imagining, yeah, if I would be able to live in a time period of the specific period that I'm presenting in my museum. Or that you're really trying to imagine, yeah. So in museums there lies a lot of strength in storytelling, of course, yeah. So later on we also have to be critical when we go to the museum to see if they do that. Yeah, this is, I think, could be interesting. Okay, we skipped this too, sorry. So why is your destination different? What makes you who you are? What can be done? Have you done something undiscovered or local hotspots? What happens behind the scenes? Do you have expertise or knowledge that no one else has? what are your customers telling about your destination? Yeah, so this user-driven content is something later on when I'm going to ask you to think about your destination, also use this, yeah, to get inspiration. So who will help you? We also, emotions, I'm going to skip this, really sorry, but we don't have time for that. Visuals are very important. So here just an overview as well, yeah, also when you later on go to design your story. Keep it short, yeah, use visuals that matter. So a visual doesn't necessarily have to come with words, it often speaks itself. Yeah, so you can see, I think Ibiza was doing a great job in that. Yeah, they had all these great visuals. You don't need any explanation to it, it speaks for its own. Yeah, so having this mood board of different visuals might tell the story for you. Yeah. So here we have the 5 C's of storytelling and social media. Yeah, so you also have to ask yourself, what is my capacity? Can I actually go and design stories? Do I have the tools to do so? Can be very creative and indeed ask locals to help you out. Yeah, or just merge social media platforms into your DMO website.